Dolores may have had one of the most important powers out of any of the other Madrigal family members, but sadly, it looks like her gift may have stemmed from a deep-seated fear. While most of the Madrigal family was very popular and constantly crowded, that was never the case for Dolores, and it kind of makes you wonder if she ever felt like, no one sees me. For Dolores, though, her fear likely wasn't as simple as not being seen. It instead goes much deeper, and if this theory is true, what makes it extra heartbreaking is that the young Madrigal may have sealed her own fate and brought her deepest fear to life, which is shown throughout the movie. Dolores Madrigal was depicted as very stoic and quiet, but there's a chance that she only lived that way because of what she feared most, not being seen for who she really was. And if that wasn't bad enough, because of the gift that she was given and the way that she was presumably taught to act by Abuela, Dolores didn't want to be seen. Or at least she felt like she wasn't supposed to be. Now, none of this was explicitly mentioned in Encanto, but judging by the way Dolores acted in the film, along with the description that Disney gave for her character leading up to the release, it doesn't seem like a far stretch. In the movie, Dolores was often shown by herself or off in the background, and whenever she was given any lines or had something to say, she typically spoke in a quiet whisper that made it hard for anyone but herself to hear. Now, this could have been because if she spoke too loud, she would hurt her own ears, considering her magical gift was the power of super hearing. Or it could be because she was afraid to speak up for fear of not being seen for who she really was. Being able to hear everything around you, no matter how quiet it is, might sound nice, but take it from Dolores, it could easily become more of a burden than a gift. You see, Dolores was Pepa and Felix's firstborn child and only daughter, and according to her character description by Disney, she was usually the first to know the town's biggest secrets. And even though fans get to see that she wasn't much of a gossip, there's a good chance that the town and the people around her saw it differently. Encanto shows that Dolores wasn't the best at keeping secrets, especially when it was something important. For instance, when she overheard Mirabel and her father talking about Bruno's vision and the fact that the magic was fading, you could tell that she was trying to keep it to herself, but even Augustine knew that she wouldn't be able to hold in that big of a secret. And sure enough, within minutes, the entire family knew about the fading magic, and things seemed to turn from bad to worse. Sadly for Dolores, even though she tried to keep the secrets that she heard around town to herself, she simply couldn't hold them in, which probably gave her a pretty bad reputation. So because she was afraid of being seen as a gossip instead of as the sweet person she was shown to be, Dolores learned to be quiet and stick to the background, a lesson that was most likely reinforced by Abuela, who, judging by how controlling she was in the movie, probably liked to use Dolores' power to spy on the rest of the village. And make no mistake, that's exactly what she was doing, whether it was for a good reason or not. Abuela put all of her grandchildren to work. Even Antonio was warned that she would find something for him to do with his gift the morning after he got it. Looks like child labor laws didn't exist around that village yet. So it stands to reason that she would have done the same with Dolores, who could now be her own personal listening device to hear about all of the villagers' problems. And in case you don't believe that Dolores was always listening, think about how much she knew about Mariano. She listened to him so much that she found out about his passion for poetry and fell in love with him. Dolores wasn't listening to Mariano because she already loved him. She fell in love with him after spying on him and his family, most likely because Abuela ordered her to. Now, let's take a look at Dolores' gift, and specifically why she would have been given the ability to hear things with such intensity, because that could explain her possible fear of not being seen for who she truly was. As a lot of Encanto fans have noticed, each of the characters' gifts seem to be given to them based on some underlying trait in their personality. Antonio is the perfect example of this because he was the only character to have their gift ceremony shown on screen. Before he received his gift, Antonio was clearly an animal lover, otherwise Mirabel wouldn't have given him an awesome stuffed animal as something to comfort him. So when it came time for the candle to bestow Antonio with his gift, he was given the power to communicate with animals, which is the coolest power in the family, hands down. And judging by that, it's safe to assume that the rest of the Madrigals got their gift based on something that they were known for growing up. So it would stand to reason that Dolores' gift came from something from her childhood. Now, it's unlikely that the child's best trait was that she was a good listener, but there's a chance that it was her most noticeable. Dolores most likely grew up being told to listen to her older cousin Isabella because their abuela believed she was perfect. So everything that Isabella did, Dolores was likely told to listen to and watch so that she could grow up to be just as perfect. And if that's true, then Dolores likely did her best to keep quiet and just listen, which may have been the reason that she was given her gift in the first place. Sadly enough, though, getting the power to hear things really well instead of something as flashy as her older cousins may have reinforced or even caused Dolores' fear of not being truly seen. She could have taken it as a sign that she was supposed to just be quiet and listen rather than express her true feelings. Dolores was constantly overlooked within the family despite having one of the most useful beautiful gifts of them all. And if that didn't directly cause Dolores to fear that she wasn't going to be seen, then it certainly reinforced it. And this goes back to the character description for Dolores. When describing her character, the creators of Encanto said, "Dolores is the only daughter of Pepa and Felix. Because she was born just after her perfect cousin Isabella, Dolores feels like she only exists in her shadow." Well, it's funny to hear that Mirabel wasn't the only Madrigal who felt that way, but it's sad to think that Dolores grew in her cousin's shadow, not even one of her own siblings. Not like that would have made it much better, and then to think that she was soon surrounded by family members with gifts that were all outwardly more flashy than hers. It really starts to seem like there's no way that Dolores wouldn't have felt overlooked. So even when she would get attention after she heard something worth relaying to Abuela or the rest of the family, she probably got labeled as a gossip. Once again, this only reinforces Dolores' potential fear of never being seen for who she really was, and instead only viewed as a gossiping eavesdropper. Bruno's vision of Dolores' future didn't make things any easier for her either. If she wasn't afraid of not being seen before Bruno told her about his vision, she definitely was after. It's unclear how old Dolores was when she found out that she would never be with the man of her dreams, but that's exactly what Bruno told her. According to a vision he had, Dolores grew up believing that the man she was meant to be with would be just out of reach and engaged to someone else. Come to find out that the person in question was Mariano, and the person he was betrothed to was supposed to be Isabella. Dolores clearly didn't speak up about how sad that made her, but viewers got to see firsthand during We Don't Talk About Bruno how much it affected her. And that could be because not only was Dolores about to get overlooked by her cousin Isabella again, she couldn't even say anything to protest it for multiple reasons. The first is that Abuela was the one who set Mariano and Isabella up, and none of the Madrigals would dare contest Abuela Alma's dictations. And the second is that she likely was afraid of being labeled a gossip by her own family for simply trying to follow her own heart. Dolores was the second oldest member of the newest generation of Madrigals, and whether she showed it or not, she was dealing with a lot behind the scenes. Whether it was finally finding a way to step out of her elder cousin's shadow, or thinking about the fact that she may never get to be with her true love, there was a lot for Dolores to think and worry about. So to think that she was also dealing with the fear of not being known or seen for the person that she truly was, rather than just a set of ears for Abuela to use for spying, is super sad. Dolores didn't want to be labeled as a gossip. No one does, but it looks like that may be what everyone else saw her as. The real question is, though, what do you think about this theory? Was Dolores quiet because she was concerned with the world seeing her as a gossip and not for who she really was because of her super hearing? Or was she just quiet because the sound of her own voice being so loud may have hurt her ears? Be sure to let me know what you think in the comments below.